She joins us now, sharing her story. Natanya, thank you so much for being with us. I can't imagine what you've been through since 1999, and then all the emotions that must be coming up over the last couple of days.
I can tell you that immediately, the moment she opened her mouth, you could see that Combs was listening intently to everything that she had to say, as well as those jurors.
After Jennifer Lopez was dragged into the Diddy lawsuit over allegedly being the gun mule in a 1999 nightclub shooting where Diddy and J-Lo allegedly made a rapper named Shine take the fall and spend 10 years in prison for them, people have started digging into her past, and it raises some questions.
I don't know if he was present with that, but I know he had been hanging around with him in London, in Paris, different places.
Law enforcement sources are expecting the feds to widen the Diddy probe to include previous criminal investigations. Now, we know Diddy was criminally investigated regarding that shooting in New York, but I didn't realize the extent of J-Lo's involvement.
For Jenny from the block, it simply got too hot. Because Jennifer Lopez may have been more than Diddy's ex-girlfriend, based on allegations and some damning evidence from Cassie Ventura. He may have had her as an accomplice. We are discussing falsehoods, cover-ups, and smuggling, and now she is apparently on the run. J-Lo has been largely invisible since Diddy's legal ordeal began, and we may finally understand why. Cassie just testified, yes, in tears, that Diddy forced her to handle a loaded pistol in public and used her as a pawn in his disaster. However, it is not a gag. The true explanation is that J-Lo may have assisted him in doing the same thing years prior, helping to hide a crime that resulted in the imprisonment of an innocent man. Can you guess who might accompany Diddy if he goes down? J-Lo, you all need to brace up because this story is insane. Let us get started. As we all know, Cassie Ventura and Diddy had a lengthy and extremely upsetting past. She recently testified that Diddy once gave her a loaded gun before they entered a club in Los Angeles. She was allegedly crying as she described everything, baby. The trauma was palpable.
When she was on the stand, at times she became visibly upset, wiping away tears as she gave her evidence.
However, this is where things become even more sinister. The complaint filed by Rodney Lil Rod Jones claims that in 1999, Jennifer Lopez sneaked a revolver into a nightclub in New York City on Diddy's behalf. 3 persons were shot that same evening, including Natanya Rubin, a woman who was struck in the face. It is giving ride or die, yes, but illegal die. It does not seem good that he keeps exploiting his women as gun mules. To be honest, J-Lo is not innocent in any of this. Being in the wrong place at the wrong time is not the only factor here. This appears to be active involvement.
As we talked about in the first part, there seems to be some misinformation or misunderstanding of what really went down in that trial, what was said, what people were blamed for, what they were not. I'd love to hear your perspective and specifically kind of what you wish people understood about that trial that maybe they don't at this time.
I mean, even from the very day that the thing took place, because if you notice their mugshots, only Shine truly has a mugshot. Puffy and J-Lo, Puffy's in front of a concrete wall, J-Lo is in front of a bulletin board in some old t-shirts. Now, I want everyone to think that was the night of the shooting. You don't think at Christmas time, Puffy and J-Lo went out in some old raggedy t-shirts, right? No, there was already a agenda afoot to conceal what they had on, to try to sway the minds of people, to throw your memory off, but they couldn't throw my memory off.
Not to mention that J-Lo identified Shine Barrow as the gunman that evening, according to testimony from Diddy's own driver. If that is the case, she not only carried the firearm, but also allegedly assisted Diddy in framing Shine, who was sentenced to a lengthy prison sentence for a crime he may not have committed. For the benefit of those who are unaware, Shine has been vocal for years about Diddy being a setup and not his friend. And you know what? According to Gene Deal, the former head of Bad Boy Security, Diddy allegedly declared that he detested Shine. Therefore, this framing issue is not completely impossible.
That's real talk. But I gotta ask you, right? I seen a trailer for a Sean documentary that you went in. How did that come about, you being in that documentary?
Well, I was there doing that whole trial with Shine and Puff. Puff said, I hate that motherfucker. Blatantly. He told me that. And that's when they was on trial with each other.
We already know that Shine was soiled, but it gets worse. Diddy allegedly handpicked the witnesses in that 1999 trial, allegedly stacked the deck, and worse, according to several insiders, J-Lo was complicit. They allegedly worked behind the scenes to bury Shine, training witnesses to say what they needed to say and, get this, allegedly purchasing jurors.
Anybody that was there, I know this young lady said Puff did the shooting. What I was told by Wolf himself, and he spoke very little about it because he had mad love for Shine.
Diddy and J-Lo left as if nothing had occurred. Naturally, J-Lo was discarded by Diddy soon after, as if she were merely a piece in the game. But let us face it, they both gained their desired independence.
I don't know if he was present with that, but I know he had been hanging around with him in London, in Paris, different places.
You may be sitting here wondering why J-Lo did not testify during all of this chaos. When the shooting occurred, was she not there? Let me introduce you to something crazy. J-Lo and Diddy secretly got married around the time of the 1999 shooting, according to Jaguar Wright, who is no stranger to leaking A-list secrets. And no, you guys, not out of love. Jaguar asserted that strategy was more important in that marriage than romance. You see, J-Lo could not be made to testify against Diddy in court if she was legally his wife. Hollywood frequently uses such to cover tunes, and it is a legal loophole, and it was successful. Diddy kept his secrets more tightly sealed than Fort Knox. She avoided that courtroom, and her hands remained clean.
Shine caused a lot of that stuff himself, and Puff said, I hate that motherfucker, blatantly. He told me that, and that's when they was on trial with each other.
Wow, you never told me about that, man. You seen how Flex, he came out calling Shine a liar?
Well, I think Funkmaster Flex has every right to say what he said because he know a little bit more than most.
Although the marriage cannot be officially verified, Jaguar claims that the ceremony took place. According to reports, J-Lo even went to some of Diddy's notorious freak-off parties. According to one complaint, a prominent female celebrity even observed one of these parties while a 13-year-old was coerced into attending. Look, the streets are buzzing, but we are not claiming that J-Lo was a celebrity. Furthermore, it is becoming increasingly difficult to overlook the linkages as J-Lo's name is suddenly appearing in court dockets, litigation, and even old witness testimony. But listen to this, and it does not end there. That 13-year-old, she was not the only victim, unfortunately. Misha, another woman, came forward with an equally unsettling account. Misha claims that J-Lo was not only in the building, but was actually there, in the spotlight, as Diddy allegedly subjected her to some extremely traumatic experiences at one of those now famous freak-off parties. Misha claimed that throughout the incident, she looked J-Lo in the eye. Guess what she received in exchange for her silent pleas for assistance? Nothing. Nothing to say. Nothing. A blank stare.
I remember he did what he did to me, and then when it was time for Jennifer Lopez, she was there with a guy, and he was standing there looking disgusted, but didn't nobody save me. She stuck that glass in me, and after that, but my eyes were booked the whole time.
She has a lot of explaining to do if that is the case, and J-Lo actually watched all of that happen. And if you thought it could not get much messier, be ready because this is not the first time that J-Lo has been linked to these perverse groups. Years ago, there was a major incident when her ex-husband, Ojani Noah, spilled his own tea. Ojani asserted that J-Lo was deeply involved in these activities and was not just attending them on a casual basis. He went so far as to say that she ought to be questioned over the alleged S-tapes connected to Diddy and his close circle. Those cassettes indeed, the ones that come up whenever someone brings about covert cameras and baby oil. Neither did he bite his tongue. He asserts that J-Lo is not the same person behind closed doors as she is on the red carpet. He said bluntly that she was well aware of what transpired at those gatherings and did not appear to care. Look, ex-partners do occasionally speak recklessly. Do not lie. Let us be honest though. This is not your typical resentful ex bringing someone down for infidelity. The pieces are beginning to fit together when you consider Ojani's allegations, Misha's account, Cassie's moving testimony, and the lawsuits piling up like a set of dominoes. J-Lo is no longer seeming to be an innocent bystander. What about the frosting on this rather untidy cake? As part of the larger federal investigation into Diddy, 2 law enforcement enforcement sources informed the New York Post in 2024 that the 1999 nightclub shooting would be reopened. If that occurs, and J-Lo's name is connected to those incidents, she may also find herself in a trial. Social media is not surprising now. It was best expressed by one user. The public was aware that Jennifer Lopez was carrying it for him. Despite being a gifted vocalist, she is not very famous or well-known. Listen, the amount of fame never truly matched the talent, and now the true cause of her ascent may be coming to light. But, everyone, this is where things get messier. Sui asserted in an interview that distance and disagreements were not the only factors contributing to J-Lo and Ben Affleck's disintegrating marriage. Nope. He claims that at one of those so-called freak-off parties, the feds allegedly played a tape of J-Lo and Diddy to Ben. Now picture that man sitting down, assuming he is going to watch evidence for a case, only to discover that his wife, the woman he recently renewed his romance with, is supposedly attending Diddy's perverse private parties. According to reports, Ben was unable to look at her the same way after that. Can you really blame him? Let us face it.
He on news team. Did y'all hear about what's his name? Suge Knight. He said, baby, he think the reason why Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck broke up because he feels that they had some tapes at Diddy's mansion that showing her in a compromising position, and that the FBI allegedly may have sent those tapes to Ben Affleck. You know, Ben Affleck is a white man in America, and he's a very prominent man. They say he's a darling, which means people love him.
Nor is this a tabloid rumor from 10 years ago. Take a peek at the timeline. Things between J-Lo and Ben abruptly began to rapidly deteriorate after the federal government raided Diddy's properties. Together, they ceased to appear. She resumed walking the red carpet alone. The body language was strange. Additionally, they are no longer wed. Despite J-Lo's years of being quiet and elegant for the media, these court records give a completely different picture. This is not a romantic comedy, if these accusations are even partially accurate. This is becoming a criminal dot. Speaking of judicial drama, it is hardly surprising that J-Lo has purportedly disappeared from view given everything Cassie has been revealing about Diddy. Where exactly is she hiding? Cassie's testimony, perhaps? Ooh, every day has been growing darker. She claimed that Mr. Combs essentially wanted to own her life, paying for everything she owned, including her phone, house, and automobiles, and would take it all away as a kind of punishment, complete command. According to her testimony, here, control was everything, from what I was working on to how I looked. However, that control eventually devolved into violence. I'm talking about actual violence now. In court, Cassie sobbed, claiming that Diddy would kick her, drag her, knock her over, and bitch her head. She testified that she had black eyes, swollen lips, and actual knots on her forehead. It progressed from being unsettling to being downright terrifying when the prosecutors started to get involved in the freak-offs. According to Cassie's testimony, during the first year of their relationship, Diddy introduced her to these perverse gatherings. Allegedly, he would hire strippers and male escorts to have sex with her while he looked on. And these were not one-time events, you know. Up to 4 days passed during some of these incidents.
She said that they were so exhausting, she needed a recovery period from uses of drugs and the physical exhaustion of the activities at play.
She claimed that although she began doing it to please Diddy, it ultimately made her feel ashamed. She said, "I felt fairly bad about myself." As she broke down on the stand, "I felt useless as a result." Cassie claimed that she used a variety of drugs, including ketamine, ecstasy, grass, and more, to even get through it. She claimed that it assisted her in separating herself from the actual situation. X with an unknown person? I was not really interested in having X. Diddy too? They said he was planning it all. He would give her instructions to locate these men, escorts, strippers, and dancers, and then, based on their performance, pay them between $1,500 and $6,000. According to her, they discovered them on Craigslist and through stripper businesses. Similar to Craigslist, some of these men, including Daniel Phillip, who had already testified, were even identified in court using pictures that were provided to jurors.
Said that Sean Combs directed everything from what she had on to the lighting in the room to how she was supposed to interact with the person that she was having sex with. And again, just to reiterate what is a freak off, the freak off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism, wanting to watch her have sex with someone else. And she said that she did it because she was 22, 21. She was young. She didn't know any better, and that she wanted to please Sean Combs.
And at some point in time, she actually had said that she looked forward to the freak offs. Why did Cassie express looking forward to the said freak off?
When the prosecution asked her, was there ever a time that you enjoyed the freak offs? This is when Cassie got choked up and she said, I did, but only because I got to spend one-on-one time with Combs.
This is the point at which J-Lo comes up again. You cannot claim she was unaware of this pattern. She dated Diddy first, after all. She was there when he was at his most chaotic. So this side of him that is dark, she had seen it before. Rumor has it that she is quite afraid of being called to the stand because of this. She has allegedly been avoiding that subpoena like the plague. Some even claim that she escaped to a nation without an extradition treaty in case this situation blew up and she was also dragged in. Because let us be honest, folks, it is becoming increasingly apparent that Diddy is going down because of the growing evidence against him. And J-Lo might not be long behind if the federal government decides to start looking through the records to see who was present. I would like to hear from you all now. Do you believe that J-Lo will be the next well-known figure to be implicated in Diddy's escalating scandal? Was she actually assisting him in the background all along? Or is she simply a victim of the crossfire? Leave your comments in the section below. It is too juicy, so do not hold back. To ensure you do not miss the next release, make sure you hit the bell notification, subscribe, and hit the like button, because believe me, it is difficult to predict who will be the next to go down in the Diddy trial.